Hello everyone, Charles Watts here, the Arsenal correspondent at Goal, joining you on transfer deadline day. The final day of the January transfer window is upon us, and there could be some things to keep an eye on at Arsenal. We've just been speaking to Mikel Arteta ahead of tomorrow night's game at Wolves. Obviously, transfers were on the agenda when it comes to firing some questions at the Arsenal manager, and I'll run through during this video what he had to say. Didn't rule out the possibility of bringing someone in before 11 o'clock tonight. Obviously, time is against Arsenal at the moment, but he certainly didn't rule out the possibility. But I still think, as I've been saying during these recent videos, that outgoings are certainly the more pressing issue for Arsenal today, even if there is maybe the slight chance of a new left-back arriving before 11 p.m. So we've got plenty to keep an eye on in terms of outgoings of Ainsley Maitland-Niles, Joe Willock, Reiss Nelson potentially leaving today. Even maybe short-handed Mustafi. We'll have to wait and see if something happens with him, whether or not it's a straight exit or it's a contract being cancelled. We'll have to wait and see with him. But I'll talk over what Mikel had to say and also discuss the latest team news from Mikel ahead of tomorrow night's game at Wolves as well. So let's start, shall we? Transfers, and we'll start with incomings. Mikel has obviously already signed 2 players this summer, this window. Martin Odegaard arriving from Real Madrid and Matt Ryan coming in from Brighton, both at loan additions. He has previously stated that potentially left-back is an option for Arsenal. They want some natural left-sided cover for Kieran Tierney. Haven't been doing that. They haven't got that. They're playing Cedric there at the moment. Obviously, Ainsley Maitland-Niles was filled in as well. Bukayo Saka has filled in there, but Arsenal like him higher up the pitch rather than left-back. So they are looking at potential options. I've reported before that Ryan Bertrand is a target for Arsenal. They like him. He's one of the players they're looking at. Left back at Southampton. They've got 6 months left on his deal. Whether or not that's something Arsenal can do this month, I'm still not entirely convinced by, especially now so late in the window. Southampton have got their injury problems. You know, they're pushing for a decent spot in the Premier League this season. Even if Ryan Bertrand isn't going to sign a new deal with them at the moment, he's stalling over a new deal. Letting him go on deadline day, I'm just not sure they're going to do that. It would take probably a decent offer from Arsenal. I'm not sure Arsenal are going to offer anything decent given he's out of contract in the summer and he's 31 years old. So I think if they are going to push forward with that interest in Bertrand, it's potentially something for the summer rather than January. Patrick Van Aanholt is a player who's been mentioned as well. Arsenal having interest in him. Obviously, Crystal Palace is another one, about 31. I think he is now. Not happy at Palace. Been trying to get out this month by all accounts, but whether Arsenal push forward with that again is another thing we'll have to wait and see between now and 11 o'clock. But Mikel was asked about the possibility of incomings. Here's what he had to say. He said the last day of the window is always unpredictable, so things can happen. They might not happen. We are on it. So he certainly hasn't ruled it out there, but left it a little bit open to whether Arsenal do manage to get anything done or not. I don't think it's the most essential thing. You know, if they don't get anyone in today, if they don't get left back covering for Tierney, I don't think it's the be all and end all. It's not going to end their hopes of doing anything decent this season. It will certainly give them added strength in depth, which is what you want. But I do think Arsenal do have, you know, potentially decent cover at left back anyway. Cedric's playing very, very well there at the moment. So yeah, like I said, I don't think it's not a deal breaker for Arsenal's season if they don't manage to get someone in, but it would certainly be a plus if they did. So that's one to keep an eye on between now and 11 o'clock. And please do head over to my social media channels, obviously at Goal Goal website as well for all your Arsenal news as it breaks throughout the day. Just seen that Matt Smith, young player, has been on loan at Swindon. He has now gone out on loan for the second half of the season at Charlton. So deals are beginning to happen at Arsenal, and I expect that will not be the only one that we see happen today, because potential outgoings, I think this is where Arsenal could well be busy. With several of their younger players potentially heading out. I've just mentioned Matt Smith there. Obviously, he's one of the more of the under-23 setup. But in terms of the senior setup, you got Ainsley Maitland-Niles, you got Reiss Nelson, Joe Willock, all players who could potentially head out today before 11 p.m. Ainsley Maitland-Niles is the big one. He's probably the biggest name at the moment, given the amount of football he's played in the last couple of years. Leicester City want him, Southampton want him, West Brom have wanted him. It all rests on what Arsenal are going to do with Ainsley. He wants to play football. Obviously, he's an England international now. The Euros are coming up. He wants to make sure he stays in Gareth Southgate's plans. He doesn't think he will do, given a lack of game time he's getting at Arsenal at the moment. He would certainly love to go out and play midfield somewhere, and that's where Leicester have been a strong option. Leicester looking at cover at central midfield at the moment with injuries to, I think, Pratt and Ndidi, and Maitland-Niles is a player that they really do want. But it's been reported fairly recently, just saw on Sky Sports News, that they are saying Arsenal are saying no to Maitland-Niles to Leicester because they don't want to strengthen a direct rival for those European places. So that's an interesting one, because Leicester certainly did want Ainsley Maitland-Niles. I actually kind of think that's the right idea from Arsenal as well. I think unless someone's putting up big money, and I've said this before, unless someone's whacking down 20, 25 million on the table for Maitland-Niles, I'm not sure they should really be in any rush to send him out on loan, because I think it weakens their squad, because he's a versatile player who can play in plenty of positions, and it's going to strengthen another team's squad, certainly if it's someone like Leicester. So I've not been convinced. I know I've said it a few times on these videos now. I'm just not convinced that Arsenal really need to rush anything. Yes, Ainsley might want to go and play some football, but at the end of the day, he's an Arsenal player, and if it's going to weaken your squad and potentially strengthen a rival, I don't think you need to bend over backwards just to accommodate a player's wishes between now and the end of the season. Even Southampton potentially are an Arsenal rival this summer, but that one wouldn't be totally against Southampton, but Leicester doesn't really make too much sense to me unless, as I said, they're whacking down a decent chunk of money that Arsenal could potentially reinvest, not this window, but in the summer for Maitland-Niles. Because you've got to remember, they turned down sort of 20, 25 million from Wolves in last summer, then to suddenly let them go out on loan a few months later, it's not the best business, to be honest. But again, that's just my opinion. It's not who am I? But just a lowly Arsenal reporter rather than someone running at the club, although I would certainly love to do that. Other players who could go out, Joe Willock wanted by some clubs. Newcastle looking at him. Whether that happens between now and the end of the day, it will have to wait and see. Reiss Nelson as well could potentially go out. There's clubs in the Championship, clubs in Germany looking at him. I think Reiss desperately needs to get out today. Arsenal need to find him a club that helps his development, because at the moment he's going absolutely nowhere. He's stalling. He's not getting any minutes. Didn't kick on, wasn't given the opportunity to kick on really, because he played all right in the Europa League and then suddenly he was out of the team again. Mikel's saying he was injured, but he's been back for a while now, training all the time and not getting a look in at all, even when Arteta makes big changes for certain games in the FA Cup and things like that. So Reiss absolutely needs to go out and play, get some regular football between now and the end of the season, because it's not doing him any good sticking around. It's not doing Arsenal any good, because his value is absolutely plummeting if they want to try and get him out at some point on a permanent deal. So both parties hopefully can come together and find Reiss a decent move. And I'd like to see Reiss getting regular football as well, because he's just one of those players, he's got real talent in him, and if he starts playing well, he starts getting his confidence up, he could be a good player. So it'd be interesting to see him go out, play somewhere 3-4 months solid football to see how he can do and how he can perform. So that's one to look out with as well. Mustafi, we'll have to wait and see on Mustafi. Will Arsenal come to some sort of agreement today and cancel his contract early, and then that will allow him to move to someone else? Will someone like Liverpool come in with a late offer? Doesn't look likely now with Liverpool. They've just signed Davis from Preston, potentially looking at someone at Marseille as well by all accounts. So maybe that Mustafi move to Liverpool certainly isn't going to happen, but something else potentially would. Mikel speaking about outgoings, he said, "We have decided who could leave today. We are working on it. You'll find out before 11 p.m. When asked about Ainsley Maitland-Niles, he said, "I don't know. I cannot speak about individual players. What we want to do in the conversations that we've had, the various reasons. Let's see if we can get something done tonight." Pressed further on Maitland-Niles again, he said, "Look, I cannot talk about individual players and our plans for them for now or for the future." So I think they're the three to look out for: Maitland-Niles, Nelson and Willock in terms of loans before the end of today's window. And then there's also the Mustafi thing to keep an eye on as well, and whether Arsenal can come to some sort of agreement with him. If they don't, then that's going to raise the possibility, someone will have to be left out of the Premier League squad when that gets submitted tomorrow. Then the Europa League squad as well, someone's going to have to get left out, because at the moment Arsenal have managed to get Kolasinac out of their squad, and that's freed up a space which Martin Odegaard has which Matt Ryan has taken, but then Odegaard's come in as well, obviously, since then. So to get Odegaard in, which obviously they will do, they're going to have to leave someone out. And I would presume if Mustafi doesn't leave, it's going to end up being Mustafi, who won't even be registered for the Premier League. And in the Europa League as well, you've got to add Martinelli into the mix for this one as well, because he wasn't included in the 25-man squad for the first part because he was injured, but now he's back fit. Arsenal are going to want to include him. So they're going to have to leave players out for that as well. And that's not ideal given what they did in the start of the season with Sokratis and Ozil and the problems that caused. I don't think it's as much of an issue with Mustafi just because he's out of contract anyway and not as big a name and things like that. But Mikel was asked about it. He said, look, it will depend on what happens today. We'll have to make a decision probably, which we want to delay as much as possible, but it will have to be done. When asked if any high-profile players will have to be left out, he said hopefully not. But it's looking, unless Mustafi leave, it looks pretty likely that will be the case. He also spoke a little bit about Edu, which I thought was quite interesting. Said, look, probably in the last year I've spoken to Edu more than anyone else in my life. That's what my wife says, because of the things we have to go through, coronavirus, transfers. Luckily enough, we have a great relationship, a great understanding. We support each other in a great way. It is lucky that if you have to talk to someone many times around deadline day, that the relationship is strong. Quite an interesting little relationship between Arteta and Edu, because I do believe it is a strong relationship and it can be one that will serve Arsenal well going forward. Edu, to be fair to him, I think he took a little bit of flack in the summer with some of the business dealings that took place, but I think he's had a very good transfer window in January. Edu, he's got what Arsenal needed. I think he's done a decent deal getting Matt Ryan in, strengthening the goalkeeper department. That was an area Arsenal absolutely had to strengthen because of Runarson's struggles. Odegaard on loan is a very good deal. He's a very exciting player. It's a decent deal, that winning the race to get Odegaard. Certainly getting players out and being pretty ruthless in that has been impressive. Moving on Ozil, Sokratis and Kolasinac in this January window. I don't think any of us expected that. So Eddie deserves a lot of credit. And, Mikel said, look, I think he's doing a great job at the club since I joined. The clarity that he showed when he came in to convince me to join the club and then to stick to the plan that we have and the way he's going about it, I'm really impressed with him. So nice words there from Mikel towards Edu, who's had a decent January transfer window. Let's see if he can finish it off in style before 11 p.m. tonight. Remember, head over to my Twitter @Charles_Watts or head over to goal.com for all your Arsenal news as it breaks on transfer deadline day. Right, before we end today's video, let's just talk about a little bit of team news ahead of that game against Wolves on Tuesday night. Not the best of updates from Mikel in his press conference, certainly about Saka and Tierney. Was hoping for better for Tierney because Tierney did train on Friday away from the main group, but with a group in contact training. And it was pretty hopeful that they were going to come back and join full training on Monday, but it doesn't seem that has been the case. And Mikel Arteta clearly not too confident at the moment. Whether this is mind games, we'll have to wait and see. But when he was asked about Saka and Tierney returning to face Wolves, he said, we don't know yet if they'll return. Today we've got a training session, but they haven't been able to train with us yet. So I think it will be really difficult for them. But I don't know. We're going to try it to the last minute to see how they are feeling. So it's going to be a late call on whether Saka and Tierney can return to face Wolves on Tuesday night. I think we all know that Arsenal are a much, much stronger team with both of those players in it. And so I can understand why Arsenal will be leaving it late before making that call, but they will be travelling up to Wolves potentially today. I think they'll probably go up today and stay in a hotel, so that call's going to have to be made after today's training session. So it'll be interesting to see if any photos emerge today and see whether Saka and Tierney are involved in that. On Lacazette, slightly better news. Obviously, Laka ended up in hospital after Saturday's game, after that nasty fall when he went down under that challenge from Maguire, landed on the back of his head, his shoulder, his neck, ended up in hospital. But Laka said on Instagram later that day that he'd been given the all clear and the doctors were great. And Mikel's saying that we had to follow the protocols. We had to test him and make him have an x-ray. He was completely fine after the game. He was fine yesterday, which is Sunday, and he says that he has slept very well. So I'm expecting him to be available. So it looks like Arsenal will have Lacazette back, but Tierney and Saka not quite so certain. And in terms of Aubameyang, Mikel says there's still some things to clear up. Maybe yes, maybe no, we don't know. We're still doing some paperwork at the moment. So Arsenal working against the clock to try and get Aubameyang cleared to be available. But you have to think, given where he's been in terms of his mindset, you know, during the illness of his mother, the fact he hasn't been training, even if he does get the all clear to come back and link up with the squad again after passing the various protocols that he's had to do with COVID and everything. Even if he does get the all clear now, to come back and go straight into the side to place Wolves on Tuesday, you have to think that is very, very unlikely, given his mental state of mind, where he's been, and given his fitness more than anything as well, because he's missed training for over a week now. So you've got to think it's unlikely, and it's more, and you'd be targeting more Saturday's game at Aston Villa rather than Tuesday's game at Wolves for a potential Aubameyang return, which means Arsenal could be again without Aubameyang, Tierney and Saka on Tuesday night, which is far from ideal when you think of the quality and the strength of those three players. Right, that's about it from me today. Thank you very much for watching this video. I appreciate it all, as always. And like I said, head over to my Twitter account at Charles_Watts and keep your eye on goal.com throughout the day for all your Arsenal news as it breaks on transfer deadline day. Potentially one more incoming to come, and certainly a few to be heading out the door.